All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. Excited to get into today's topic. As always, it is titled, Don't Eat These Fruits Unless Organic. And I know that that sounds very elitist, and I totally get it, but I'm going to share with you why these 12 fruits you want to stay away from. But I'm also going to give you another 15 plus fruits that if you cannot get them organic or don't want to pay the higher price for organic, it won't be as detrimental to purchase this conventional based. So there's a little something for everyone on this show. Every single year, I try to do one episode on this. This comes from the research of the Environmental Working Group. Each and every year, they put out a new, what's called Clean 15. These are the 15 fruit that you can eat if you don't want to buy them organic. But then there's 12 fruits that are heavily sprayed with pesticides. I'm going to get into those in just a moment. And they give you a nice little list. I'm going to link it up here today. StephenCabral.com/3063. I think this is our 6th or 7th year doing the EWG Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen. I think it's worth noting they do change a little bit on a year-to-year basis. It's important to kind of memorize them. And I'm going to share with you how really easily here today. But just know that they actually... The data is from 47,510 samples. So not a small amount of 46 different fruits and vegetables. Now, I know it's not hundreds of fruits and vegetables, but they really took 46 fruits and vegetables, many of them the most popular out there, from 47,000 plus samples. Here are the common pesticides that I want you to be aware of, and just a little bit about what they can do and cause in the body, which is not really ideal, right? Because we know that, believe it or not, I'm going to go over the most popular one, the one that people know about the most, and that's glyphosate. Now, glyphosate has been used now since about 2001, give or take, a year, but that's about it. So over 20 years. Here's the big issue I have, is that we know glyphosate causes cancer. To me, I don't get this. I really don't. I did a show just last week or so on aspartame. We know that aspartame causes all sorts of exacerbation of learning issues, exacerbation of when children have ASD, issues with migraines, neurological issues, so much more, mood-based disorders. That's been proven, right? Does it happen to everybody? No, but it definitely happens to certain subsets of individuals. And do they not count? Of course they count, right? And the issue is, it's not like everybody who consumes glyphosate will get cancer, but who knows how many people will? We don't know. We do know that enough exposure can cause cancer. So we know that. We just don't know exactly who it's going to be linked to. So to me, this is a huge issue. They still allow aspartame. They still allow glyphosate. They still allow food dyes. I went over the different, AminoSweet is the new name for aspartame. I went over all the different fun names now that they do for food dyes. So really careful. I'm going to keep giving you all of the data on the Cabral Concept, all of the different up-to-date resources. But okay, glyphosate's one of those pesticides. We have a glyphosate test. If you think that you or your kids have higher levels of glyphosate, or you at least want to test, you can go to StephenCabral.com/3063. We'll link up the glyphosate test here today. And if you ever want to see all the at-home labs that you can do, you can go to StephenCabral.com/shop. That just takes you over to our functional medicine practice, EqualLife, and you can find it there. And you can always run it, of course, with an integrative health practitioner. All right. The second one is this. It's chloropyrifos. And what these are, and believe it or not, this is the most widely used pesticide in the world. Chlorpyrifos. Yeah, I believe that's how you pronounce it. But if not, close enough. And I will certainly link that up with you. And here's the issue, is that this is used on golf courses. So it's sprayed on golf courses. It's sprayed on crops. It's used to keep pests away. So a lot of these are not just, they call them pesticides, but it's often linked with herbicides and others as well. So we're just using blanket terms here, but very detrimental to the body. It's used on soybeans. If you think about how much soy is used, of course, in other products, broccoli, apples, corn, etc. All right. Another pesticide that's used is dicamba. Another one is malathion. Another is benzoyl laurease. And the last one is pyrethrins. And these are to control basically ground pests. So spiders and other issues that would affect the crops. So we have all these different pesticides sprayed on our foods that allow farmers to get higher yields. And I get that as a farmer. The more you grow, the more you can sell, the more money you make. The problem is that a lot of these were developed for GMO-based foods. So genetically modified organisms, not even really a food anymore. And what it enables it to do is be glyphosate or Roundup ready. So you can spray it on these crops and it doesn't affect the crops, but of course it affects all of the different pests and animals all around that. Okay, so what do these things do? They basically affect our nervous system, right? They can affect our gut and bacteria, which then affects our immune system. So that's a lot of downhill-based issues, right? If you have an imbalanced immune system, think of all the issues that could be caused from there, inflammatory ones. And then, of course, the potential for cancer. All right, so that's why I bring all of these up. Now, having said all of that, I'm going to go through the 12 most heavily sprayed crops that you can't wash off the pesticide. That's why it's so detrimental. So you heard corn in there. Well, corn isn't on the Dirty Dozen. And the reason is you can peel off the husk, right? You can peel it away and the corn itself isn't necessarily as heavily sprayed. Let's go through those now, but hopefully that makes sense. And then I'll reiterate that in just a moment. All right, Clean 15, Dirty Dozen, here we come. All of this, of course, is from the Environmental Working Group. I always want to give them a shout out because they do such a great job every single year, and they deserve the credit that they are due. All right, so the first item on the Dirty Dozen, where it seems to be there almost every year, it can switch back and forth with number 2, but number 1 is strawberries. This is why, although many of us love strawberries, it is so heavily sprayed. And it sinks right into the skin and can't be washed off. That we have to be really careful with our strawberry consumption, especially in children. Now, my youngest daughter was the perfect example. If we would go out to a restaurant and she would have some of the fruit, some of the mixed berries, whatever it might be, she would get a skin rash on her face after eating strawberries. Here's the interesting thing. At home, eating organic strawberries that we still wash, by the way. We still wash in, we used to wash them in ozone and a little bit of baking soda, but now we use the high 11.5 hydrogen water that I've talked about before. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, we use a hydrogen ionizer. You can find it at stephencabral.com/resources, or I'll link it up here today at stephencabral.com 3063. That's probably the best way to go because I'll link up EWG there too. But that cleans off any organic pesticides as well, like coppers, etc. All right, here's the thing though. My daughter had no issues with strawberries at home, but issues with strawberries when we were out. And it wasn't the strawberries, it was the spray on them. Really important to understand that. Strawberries are, I hate to say it, they are toxic if you're buying them conventionally. They are so loaded with pesticides or herbicides. It's unfortunate, it really is. But they are a favorite of pests in the field, and that is why they are so heavily sprayed. All right, number 2 on this list is spinach. Number 3 are other leafy greens, kale, collard, and mustard greens. So those are important. All these should be purchased organic. And if you can't get them organic, it is best not to consume these because of the amount of pesticide they have on them and how it sinks into the soft skin, and you can't wash it off even if you soak it. All right, number 4 is grapes. Another big one. I know it's close to summertime or so. People love consuming grapes. Here's the thing. Can't wash off the grapes either. Sinks right in. And yes, it does apply to alcohol as well, right? Because those grapes, when pressed, lead to alcohol, right? To wine. Okay. Number 5, peaches. Number 6, pears. Number 7, nectarines. Think about that, especially with peaches and nectarines, how soft that skin is. Sinks right into the skin, into the flesh of the fruit. Number 8 is apples. Many people love apples. I love apples. During apple picking season, so much fun going out. Careful. All of those are loaded with pesticides unless organic. Number 9, bell peppers or hot peppers. Number 10, cherries, another favorite of mine. I love cherries, right? Especially during the summertime. Cherries, soft skin, unfortunately, they can soak up those herbicides and pesticides. Blueberries are back on the list. They weren't on the list for a year or two, and now blueberries are back on the list. I'm telling you right now, at the supermarket, you can open up those blueberries and they have this white film on them. Check it out yourself. You can see the herbicides and pesticides right on them. And number 12 is green beans. All right, they're back on the list as well. Green beans, interesting one, especially since I'm going to get to that on the Clean 15. With beans, if you were to pull them out of the pod, it'd be okay. But with green beans, we eat them whole, right? And so that's the issue. All right. So now let's move on to the Clean 15. So the cleanest, the best ones for you to consume if you don't want to purchase organic, you don't want to spend the money for organic. Now, one little caveat, organic fruits and vegetables, although they may have the same macronutrients, carbs, fats, and protein as their counterpart, they typically have more micronutrients. Oftentimes, the soil, especially if you get it from a good farm, the soil is just far more rich. There's far more nutrition in those from the micronutrients, which are all the vitamins and the minerals. So whenever possible, try to support local organic farms if you can. All right, so the best one on the list, carrots. Now, I want to teach as well. I don't want to just share the names. I will, right? And I'll give you the whole link. But think about it. Carrots are grown underground. And since they're underground, we don't really need to spray them. The spray wouldn't be there, right? So carrots, number 1. Sweet potatoes, makes sense. Sweet potatoes underground. Those are number 2. Number 3 is going to be mangoes. Most of these, think about this, most of these, they grow underground or you peel away the skin. Right? Mangoes, typically not eating the skin. Mushrooms. Mushrooms, I have a little bit of a, I don't know. The mushrooms are interesting. Yes, not sprayed a lot with pesticides, herbicides. However, mushrooms are a chelator from the earth, right? Of the earth. So the EWG did not test for heavy metals. Mushrooms can oftentimes be higher in heavy metals. So just a note, just kind of want to throw that out there. Let's see. Number 5 is watermelon. So again, don't typically eat the outside of the rind. And number 6 is going to be cabbage. Number 7, kiwi. Some people do eat the skin on kiwi. Not as heavily sprayed, but some people eat the skin on kiwi. I'm not one of those individuals, but many people do. I didn't know that until a few years back, and it's like, wow, you eat the skin. All right. Let's see. Next one is honeydew melon. Again, typically not eating the outside of it. Asparagus. So asparagus we have here is one that we eat the whole, right? Asparagus, but a cleaner one. We've got sweet peas, and the reason is we're peeling them away from the pod. Papaya is next, and I love papaya. I really do. You can even eat the seeds, which are great for digestion. When I was over in India on one of my clinical internships, we actually used papaya as a digestive enzyme because it contains papain, and we used it for people with parasites. So it's naturally anti-parasitic. So I love papaya. I think it's absolutely delicious, super sweet. And here's the thing though, it is oftentimes genetically modified. So just be careful consuming papaya. Look for non-GMO, even if it's not organic. Okay. Next up is onions. Again, of course, we peel away the outside of the onion. Pineapples. Pineapples starting to move into a strange category because they're modifying pineapples. But if you can, again, look for non-GMO, look for organic. Of course, with pineapples as well, we're not eating the outside of the pineapple. Next up, 2 more to go. Sweet corn. Okay, so sweet corn, which is great. Here's the issue. Just make sure that corn is non-genetically modified. And as I talked about before, we peel away the husk, so we don't have as many of the herbicides, pesticides there. And then there's avocados. So a lot of people, they don't necessarily purchase or have access to organic avocados. Always better if you can to support organic and get good quality micronutrient-based fruits and veggies. But with organic, with avocados, you have the option of purchasing not organic as well, because it does not have the pesticide sprays, herbicide sprays that the Dirty Dozen have. And of course, you're not eating the outside of the avocado. So when you start to think about it though, you'd say, okay, would bananas be on the Clean 15 or Dirty Dozen? Well, they're going to be on the Clean 15. They're going to be on the cleaner side. Why? Because you peel away the outside of that banana. So always think about it. If you're not eating the outside of it, typically it is a lot cleaner, a lot healthier, right? Like that's the best way that I can kind of teach to think about that. What else did they look for on this list? It didn't make the Clean 15, didn't make the Dirty Dozen, but it was tomatoes. What would that be closer to? More the Dirty Dozen. Why? Soft skin, right? Winter squash, that'd be more on the Clean 15. Cherry tomatoes, closer to the Dirty Dozen. So there's a lot like this, and that's why I want to teach from it. We've got celery, we have lettuce, we have tangerines. Okay, well, peeling away the outside of the tangerine, that should be better. Cucumbers, summer squash, well, those kind of absorb easier into those soft skins. We have broccoli, we have potatoes, we've got plums, we have eggplants, we have raspberries, we have grapefruit, we have snap peas, oranges, cantaloupes, bananas, cauliflower. They were kind of in the middle. But again, I know that after this show now, you can pick out the ones that are going to be more towards the Dirty Dozen, which would be anything that you can't peel away. So those raspberries would be there, those plums would be there, the cucumbers would be there, and let's see what else, the tomatoes for sure. So hopefully this show was helpful. All of the details, all of the links will be at stephencabral.com/3063. You can print it out for yourself each and every year, but I'm telling you right now, it is always about educating yourself, understand how these pesticides, these herbicides affect us, and then from there, simply doing the best that you can. When you're out to dinner, you're not always going to be able to get all organic, all grass-fed, all pasture-raised, all wild. I totally get it, but it's what you do the majority of the time that counts. So when you have the ability to, when you're in your home, when you're food shopping for yourself, do your best to follow the Clean 15 and Dirty Dozen. Once again, stephencabral.com/3063 for all the details. Take care, everybody. Do feel free to share the show with anyone you believe it could serve. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything. Functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.